So 2023 was another busy year for me. I built 25 builds on the channel over the course of the year. Some absolutely cracking cases, some brilliant hardware, and this is my favourite video I make every year where we take a look back at the builds I've done and pick out what I think my case of the year actually is. So rather than just one single case this year, what I'm planning on doing is having a whole load of different categories to make things a little bit fairer. Some of these I have got clear winners in, others I haven't quite made my mind up as I've turned the camera on today, but I'm hoping that actually talking through some of the builds, looking at the pros and cons again, will actually help me get things straight and decide which is the best case in each of the categories. But what I'm going to start off with an easy one, one that I have a clear winner in, and that is the best small case, and the winner of that is the Fractal Terra. So if we look at the Terra, the reason it's the winner I think is fairly clear. It is just absolutely stunning. In terms of the build quality, it is absolutely flawless. We've got these lovely thick anodized aluminium panels on the side with real walnut on the front panel. And I think this case's main standout feature was the sliding central spine, which can be moved in a variety of different positions, maximizing cooling for either your CPU or your GPU. So the Terra wasn't perfect, it did have a few weaknesses. The major one I think came in terms of the CPU cooling, where you were limited to a low profile CPU cooler. The other major issue was there was no dust filters at all in the case, and because of the way the motherboard spine could slide one direction or the other, there was a large cutout at the back of it you could actually get your hand through. So it looked cool, but there was potential for dust to get in it. But setting all those weaknesses aside, I think the build quality and the looks of this case really made up for that, and that's why it's my small case of the year. Okay, so moving up a size to the best mid-size case, and before we get on to the winners, I want to give a notable mention to the Cougar MX600. This case had an MSRP of just under $130 US, and for that you got a really solid case with good build quality, 4 ARGB fans included, as well as a built-in fan and ARGB hub. But I think actually the two best mid-size cases that I've checked out this year are the O11 Vision and the O11 Dynamic Evo RGB. Now, in deciding between the two of these, there is a bit of a price difference. The O11 Vision is around about £125, whereas the O11 Dynamic Evo RGB is around about £160, although it's not currently on sale just yet. So I don't think you can have any arguments that the O11 Vision is absolutely stunning. We've got the 3 tempered glass panels on the front, on the side and on the top, which join almost seamlessly. And the big advantage of this is when you look into your build, because you don't have any fans or radiators or anything obstructing the view at the top, you just get a really good look at all your components. In terms of the O11 Dynamic Evo RGB, again, it's still a really good looking case with ARGB lighting bars on the top and the bottom, which are controllable by the case's built-in controller. The removable front pillar has been carried over from the XL version of the case, and the cooling support has been significantly improved from the original O11 Dynamic Evo. We now can mount up to 3 140mm fans at the bottom, on the side and at the top, and it's up to a 420mm radiator at the top. So in terms of the aesthetics, I do think the O11 Vision definitely is the winner, but in terms of the cooling, it's the O11 Dynamic Evo RGB that is the clear winner, with up to 3 times 140mm fans and up to a 420mm radiator, compared to the Vision, where really you've only got one place for your AIO, and that's on the side. And the big issue with that is if you want to have that for the best cooling, you're going to have the fans set to intake. And in general, most of the fans that come with the AIO don't look great in that orientation. So cooling configurations are the main issues with the Vision. The O11 Dynamic Evo RGB, again, doesn't look quite as good as the Vision, but I do think it offers better cooling. So I do think for the majority of people, paying that little bit extra and going for the RGB version is going to be the better option. And that's why the O11 Dynamic Evo RGB is my mid-sized case of the year. So now we come on to what I think is the best large case of 2023, and this is the category I've been having the most trouble with. There's 4 strong contenders and I just can't decide between them. So what we'll do, we'll go through them in the order I built in them, and that will hopefully help me pick which is the best. So the first case I looked at was the Phanteks NV7, and the major things that I think made this case look absolutely stunning was it was one of the first cases to have the absence of the front pillar, giving you almost seamless joint between the front and side tempered glass panels. It also looked absolutely incredible with the ARGB lighting strips around the motherboard, and one of the best built-in ARGB controllers of any case that I have used. It also had a really nice door on the back of the case with really good cable management clips. It had a really good GPU support bracket, and the fact that the bottom of the case was on a tilt not only improved the cooling, but also gave you a really good look at your bottom mounted fans. The case wasn't, however, perfect. Being such a large case, it only offered support for 120mm fans, and you weren't able to mount 140mm fans anywhere in the case. You had 4 120mm fans on the side of the case, which made the case really tall and left an awful lot of space above the motherboard, even if you were going with a thick push-pull configuration. And the fact that the case was so tall did lead to some problems. The fact that your power supply was all the way at the top, I did struggle to get my 12-volt high power cable to reach the graphics card without using cable extensions. And when you did use cable extensions, I did think the cable management at the back of the case wasn't great. And another slight issue was the lack of a top fan stroke radiator bracket. The next case I looked at was the O11 Dynamic Evo XL, which offered massive improvements over the original O11 Dynamic Evo. For the first time, you were able to remove the side pillar, again giving you a seamless look between the side and front tempered glass panels. We had a removable motherboard tray, and you were able to install your motherboard in a variety of different height positions. Installing your graphics card was toolless. We had support for up to 3 420mm radiators. We had 2 hot swappable hard drive cages. And if you wanted to mount your graphics card in the upright position, the mounting mechanism was improved significantly, now moving over onto the removable fan stroke radiator bracket on the side. And you're also able to mount your graphics card upright with both the I/O at the top and at the bottom, as well as you were also able to reverse the case if you wanted to have it on the left-hand side of your desk. And I think with this one, I really struggled to find any major negatives for this case. The only thing really that I came up with was that the cable management wasn't quite as good as the original O11 Dynamic Evo. I didn't like the new brackets that Lian Li had moved over to, and I preferred the fixed brackets in the original O11 Dynamic Evo, but that was really the only weakness of that case. The next large case I looked at was the BQuad Darkbase 901 Pro, which is also the most expensive case at £320. Coming from BQuad, as you'd expect, the build quality was exceptional throughout. There's lots of noise dampening material throughout the case, as well as optional mesh or noise dampening panels. The case had the best fan and ARGB controller that I have ever used on the front panel. It had a built-in wireless phone charger on the top of the case. We had a massive GPU support bracket which helped hide the cables running to the graphics card, and a really nice ARGB lighting bar on the front and side panel. One of the really cool features this case had was we had fan hubs on the removable fan stroke radiator bracket, which connected wirelessly with the main case. And if you want to install lots of drives, BQuad definitely had you covered in this case. So again, this case wasn't perfect, despite having one of the best fan ARGB hubs on any case that I have used. The big issues were you couldn't plug any additional ARGB devices into it, and all the buttons on the top of the case could do was control the 2 ARGB bars on the side and front of the case. So the wireless fan hubs on the brackets was an absolutely brilliant idea. The problem was there was only 3 of them on the top and front brackets, so if you occupied 3 fans on each of those slots, there was nowhere to plug your rear fan or your bottom fan into, and there was none for the optional side fan bracket as well. The other big issue I had was with the GPU support bracket, and I think it was designed before the 40 series cards were released, because with the 12-volt high power cables, I was concerned that the only way you were able to put this into the bracket and hide your cable, there would be a massive bend on the cable, and really I think you would need to use a right angle cable if you're wanting to use the GPU support bracket. The last large case I looked at was the Thermaltake CTE C700 Air, and being one of Thermaltake's CTE cases, it has a slightly different orientation, with your GPU mounted in the upright position, getting lots of cool air from the back of the case, and your CPU cooler at the front, getting lots of cool air from the front, and then all the hot air being exhausted out the top of the case. So this was the cheapest case by far, and can actually be bought for only £120, coming with 3 non-ARGB fans included. So the case did have 2 main problems. The first was that not all graphics cards are going to be happy in that upright position. Some graphics cards will overheat in the upright position, and the one I used in the video actually ran significantly cooler in the horizontal position in a different case. The final thing is that because your graphics card I/O is going to be at the top as well as your motherboard's I/O, you are going to need longer cables to reach the back of the case. And if you want to plug an additional cable in, you're actually going to have to route it through the case's second compartment. So having gone through those 4 cases, they're all really good cases in their own right. In terms of price, the NV7 and the O11 Dynamic Evo XL are only about £20 of difference between them. So they're probably the best to start with. If I had to pick between them, I probably would go with the O11 Dynamic Evo XL. And the main reason is the cooling support that case offers. You can mount 140mm fans up to multiple 420mm radiators in it, and I think it just looks better proportioned. The NV7 is a little bit tall with only 120mm fans and a large gap above the motherboard, but in general I think I would be happy with either of those two cases. Looking at the cheaper option, the Thermaltake case is brilliant if you're trying to save yourself some money, provided you're going with the right GPU. But I do think having to route all those cables through the second compartment of the case, I would probably go with the O11 Dynamic Evo XL over it. There's probably about £100 in difference in terms of the price between those two cases. So comparing the Lian Li O11 Dynamic Evo XL with the BQuad Darkbase 901 Pro, there is about £100 price difference between the two cases, with the BQuad case being more expensive. But for that £100 you are getting a wireless phone charger on top of the case and 3 really good included case fans. And my thermal testing shows you don't need to add any extra fans to that case. The really only disadvantage of the O11 Dynamic Evo XL that I could come up with was the cable management. The original Evo was better. And really the only downside of the O11 cases is they have been around for a while with lots of different improvements going along. So I think you definitely could pick either of these. Really, if it came down to it, the test that I've always decided in is, if I had the two of them sitting there, which of the two of them would I put on my desk? And I think we can set the price difference aside, because to fill the O11 Dynamic Evo XL, you are going to have to pay at least £100 to fill it with fans, probably more than that. And if I did have the two cases sitting side by side, despite the fact that the BQuad Darkbase 901 for me is a little bit frustrating, because it is such a good case and there was just a few little annoyances in it and it was so close to being perfect. The big thing for me is I think that absolutely brilliant ARGB controller on the top of it, they should have opened up to further devices and included an ARGB hub in the back of the case. But setting those annoyances aside, I do think it is still probably my large case of the year for 2023. So the BQuad Darkbase 901 Pro is the winner. So now we come on to my budget case of the year, and your money doesn't go anywhere near as far as what it used to. So I have priced these cases at under £100 or $100. My winner is a little bit controversial because it doesn't come with any included case fans, so you're going to have to spend extra money on fans. But I do think this case is just so far above everything else in this class, and it is only £85 to buy. And my winner is the Phanteks NV5. So I think this case is just absolutely stunning in terms of looks. Again, we've got a seamless joint between the front and side tempered glass panels. We have a really nice ARGB lighting bar on the power supply surround, and we've got an ARGB controller built into the case where you can plug all your additional ARGB devices into them and control them with the case buttons. The case also comes with a really good GPU support bracket and a really nice accessory box with all your screws neatly organised in it. So really the only downside of the NV5 is it does come without any fans included in it, and in fact to fill it with fans is probably actually going to cost you more than the case itself. If you do want to go with a case that does have fans included in it, a good alternative would be the Montech Air 903 Max. For around about $5 less than you can pick up the NV5 for, you're getting a case that comes with 4 140mm fans included in it, and 3 of them have got ARGB on it. You're also getting a built-in ARGB and fan hub, and all your case screws come individually packaged and labelled. If you wanted to go with a Mini-ITX case, a good alternative would be the DeepCool CH370. It can be had for around about £60, which is £20 cheaper than the Montech Air 903 Max. Main features include a front panel where the design can be changed by pressing a button. It has a retractable headphones holder, although the major downside is it only comes with one DC control fan, which doesn't have any RGB on it. So I think either the Montech Air 903 Max or the Phanteks NV5 are equally good cases when you've put the whole package together. The big advantages of the Montech case is that it is significantly cheaper and comes with the fans included, but in terms of the build quality and the aesthetics, the Montech doesn't have a touch on the NV5, and I have no idea how Phanteks can make a case for around about £85 with the build quality and the looks that this case has. So my case of the year in terms of budget, being a little bit controversial, is the NV5 from Phanteks. So moving on to the other side of the scale, and with money is no object, what do I think is the best case of 2023? So we've already had one of the most expensive cases, which is the BQuad Dark-Base 901 Pro. The other case is on the desk behind me, and that is the ASUS ROG Hyperion GR701. It's currently on sale for around about £400, which is an extra £80 than the Dark-Base 901 Pro. I do think it features an absolutely stunning design. It comes with 4 included 140mm case fans. Like the Dark-Base 901 Pro, it comes with a bracket to allow you to mount your GPU in the vertical as well as the standard horizontal position. It comes with an included fan and ARGB hub, and we've got some ARGB lighting on the front of the case as well as the case's side panel. Really, the only thing I didn't like about this case was that mounting your power supply is particularly cumbersome. You have to actually remove the power supply shroud to get your power supply in. And another design issue, I think, is that the hard drive cage is required to mount this panel back on again. There's not a lot of space down at the bottom of the case for your power supply cables, and it would be really nice to have been able to remove the hard drive cages and still be able to put the panel back on and have it nice and secure. Another issue I didn't like with the black version of the case was that the tempered glass panel is very dark, and it does make it difficult to see your build through the case, although there's no arguing that the front of this case is absolutely stunning. So the ROG Hyperion GR701 does also come in white, and the white version of the case has a reasonably clear tempered glass panel on it. So that is the version that I'm going to be comparing with the BQuad Dark-Base 901 Pro rather than the black version I have on the desk behind me, because I don't like the dark tint on that tempered glass panel. So I've always said the way I would decide these is which of the two would I have sitting on the desk behind me. And I also have a Dark-Base 901 Pro. It's upstairs in my son's bedroom. The case that I've chosen to sit on the desk behind me is the ROG Hyperion GR701. Main reason for it is purely aesthetics. This room I use as my YouTube studio, and I don't think the Dark-Base 901 Pro is the best looking case. This definitely has it in terms of aesthetics. Although if this wasn't a YouTube studio and it was just my own office that people weren't coming into and I wasn't recording in, I would have the BQuad Dark-Base 901 Pro, because it is so much easier to build in and has a lot more features. I just think this is the much better looking case. But I've always said I would decide this based on which of the cases I would have sitting on my desk, and as you can see from behind me, the winner of the money is no object category is the ASUS ROG Hyperion GR701, and it would be the white version that I would class as the winner. So moving on to what I think is the most innovative case of 2023, and there was lots of innovative features in cases by themselves, like the BQuad Dark-Base 901 Pro had the wireless fan hubs on the fan brackets. That was brilliant. And the O11 Dynamic Evo XL had toolless installation of your graphics card. I do think by far the most innovative case of 2023 was the Cooler Master Qube 500. So this was a flatback case that you assembled at the same time as you were putting your components together. And Cooler Master absolutely knocked it out of the park with the step-by-step build guide for this case. In fact, there was almost no point to me putting a video together, and if other manufacturers did the same for every case, I would have to give up this YouTube channel. The only downside of this case was that the cooling wasn't great, but you had an absolutely stunning looking case and a really fun build to put together. So the Cooler Master Qube 500 is my winner for most innovative case of 2023. So this brings me on to the best looking case of 2023, and no surprises here, it's the Lian Li O11 Vision. And I think having those 3 tempered glass panels on the front, the side and the top, they just look absolutely stunning. So when I first heard about this, I thought this isn't the best idea, because the top of your case is a great location for fans and a radiator, and who really stands looking in from the top at their build? But it's not that you're going to be looking in from the top at your build, it's when you're looking in from the front to the side. Not having anything at all at the top of the case means that you can see so much more of your build. And in terms of aesthetics, I think this is the clear winner of the best looking case of 2023. So now we come on to my overall case of the year for 2023. And I think you'd be absolutely fine with any of the winners of their categories, as well as the notable mentions I've mentioned as we've gone along. But I'm trying to put everything together. I do want to factor in the cost, I do want to factor in the aesthetics, and also the cooling and the features that the case offers. And for around about £160 or dollars, I do think that the Lian Li O11 Dynamic Evo RGB is the overall winner. That's just the footprint of the case. It's not a particularly large case, it's in that mid-range, but you've got massive cooling support with up to a 420mm radiator or up to 3x140mm fans at the top, on the side or at the bottom. I also think Lian Li have significantly improved this case compared to the original O11 Dynamic Evo, and in terms of price, it's in that mid-range. So putting all together, that would be my case of the year for 2023. So I have really enjoyed putting the videos together over the last year. And what I'm planning on doing is taking a well-earned break now, and I'll be back at the start of January with more PC builds. I would like to thank everybody who has subscribed and watched the videos over the last year. If you're currently not subscribed to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button. We're up at 71,000 subscribers, and it'd be lovely by the end of 2024 if we could hit 100k. If you have enjoyed this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up, and I would like to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.